Deathstroke versus Taskmaster. Two highly trained, extremely dangerous killers and assassins are going at it. They're two of the best in Marvel and DC, but when they're facing off against each other, well, who's ultimately going to be coming out on top? And really, is it even close? Let's get into it. Slade Wilson was an exceptional soldier for the US Army, was recruited to join Team 7, an elite task force designed to deal with superhuman threats. However, on one mission, Slade was critically injured, and in a desperate attempt to save his life, he was given an emergency procedure that turned him into a super soldier, giving him superhuman strength, durability, speed, and regeneration. With all this newfound power, Slade decided to become the world's greatest mercenary, Deathstroke the Terminator. Deathstroke is in a lot of ways DC's Captain America, just instead of the world's greatest soldier, he's the world's greatest assassin. But what I mean is that he's the ultimate super soldier, and he's incredibly strong. He's stronger than Batman, he's regularly able to overpower tons of people at once, and he can easily warp metal and throw around things that weigh up to several tons. Deathstroke is seriously strong, to the point where he's even been able to surprise and injure some serious superhumans. Like he's made both Lobo and the Chinese Superman bleed with his attacks. Now, take that with a grain of salt, it's definitely the extreme upper limits of Deathstroke's strength, but he's done it enough times where it's worth mentioning. He's also very, very fast and agile, easily able to dodge gunfire, dodge point-blank bullets, actually block bullets or cut them out of the air, or even sidestep and dodge bullets from some of the world's best marksmen, including Deadshot. And it doesn't just stop there. Deathstroke has actually made it fairly routine for him to be able to tag super speedsters, even members of the Flash family. He's basically impossible to hit, and he's for sure going to be able to hit you. Finally, Deathstroke is very, very tough, and he wears a Prometheum armor that only increases his durability. He's able to virtually ignore a lot of the attacks that come his way, even some seriously powerful attacks from some seriously powerful opponents. He's easily withstood gunfire and explosions or missiles. The man is nearly impossible to put down. And it doesn't hurt that he's got a nice healing factor too. He can heal from a lot of attacks, although not to the same extent as like Wolverine or Deadpool, and he's got otherworldly endurance, able to just keep on fighting and keep on going no matter what. Then lastly, well, Deathstroke is easily one of the best and most skilled fighters in all of DC. He's regularly proven that he's more than a match for the likes of Batman, Nightwing, Ra's al Ghul, Bronze Tiger, Green Arrow, some of the best fighters in DC. He's more than a match for whole superhero teams, regularly taking on the Teen Titans and even the Justice League before. And he's an incredibly lethal fighter who is more than willing to kill anyone who gets in his way. And that's only helped by all the incredible gear that he brings into fights. I mean, besides the typical weapons, guns, knives, explosives, he's also got his Prometheum sword, which is sharp enough to cut through metal and damage superhumans, or his titanium energy bow staff, which can blow up pretty much anything in its path, and again, regularly hurt superhumans. End of the day, there's a reason why Deathstroke is the best there is, and why every superhero and supervillain either respects him or fears him. Tony Masters was born with photographic reflexes, giving him the ability to perfectly copy the movements of everyone he sees, at the cost of his brain erasing pretty much everything else in order to make more room for his skills. With this technique, he chose to work behind the scenes as an instructor to supervillain henchmen, but he's also taken up jobs as a lethal mercenary, always choosing to work for the highest bidder no matter the job. Taskmaster might not be a superhuman, but that doesn't stop him from showing off some tremendous strength and power with his attacks. He's been able to send people flying backwards with his punches and kicks, even superhumans like Spider-Man. And for as strong as he is, he's also just as tough. He can survive explosions, gunfire, even take punches from the likes of Spider-Man or Luke Cage, and be okay afterwards. And to top it all off, Taskmaster is very fast too. Like fast enough to not just easily dodge bullets, but actually catch bullets out of the air, or block them and send them back to the shooter. And all this speed extends to how Taskmaster fights. He's an absolute blur, with Miles Morales even saying that it felt like Taskmaster was just as fast as he was. But Taskmaster's true power is in his photographic reflexes. He's able to instantly replicate anything he sees, taking something that would take years of practice and study and mastering it in just seconds. And while this does extend to pretty much everything, like Taskmaster is good at cooking or good at golf from watching TV, and became a better spy by watching Mission Impossible movies. This really pertains to how he fights though. He's watched pretty much every single fighter in the Marvel Universe and completely mastered their style, with his list including the likes of Captain America, Black Panther, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wolverine, and so many more. So he's basically an amalgamation of all the best fighters in Marvel, with all their skill and ability in one person. But it's not just he's able to completely copy his opponent's fighting style, but his powers also allow him to pretty much instantly turn the fighting style back on them and perfectly counter all their skill and ability. It also allows him to pretty accurately anticipate what his opponent is going to do next. After watching and copying a style, he can usually know what the fighter is going to do next and perfectly anticipate it and counter it before it ever even happens. And with all these powers, well, Taskmaster has regularly been able to fight against Captain America, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Punisher, Iron Fist, Wolverine, pretty much all the best fighters in Marvel. Taskmaster also always carries a pretty massive arsenal on him to help him out in these fights. He's got a shield that's just like Captain America's, a sword, and a bow and arrow, and plenty of guns. Even an energy construct generator to create other weapons whenever he needs them. So who wins? Well, let's break it down. Well, just across the board here, Deathstroke is better in a lot of different areas. I mean, for starters, he's undeniably stronger. Taskmaster has shown off some nice strength feats throughout the years, but it's nothing compared to Slade. Deathstroke is pretty much dang near equal to Captain America, and we all know that Cap is stronger than Taskmaster. Should be the same thing here. And again, Deathstroke is faster than Taskmaster. Not saying that Taskmaster isn't fast, and this is closer than strength, but we've seen that Deathstroke is able to tag Kid Flash on several different occasions. It's not that hard to say that he's faster than Taskmaster. I also think that Deathstroke is probably tougher than Taskmaster, especially with his incredible endurance and even his healing factor. And he's smarter than Taskmaster to top it all off. Deathstroke is a superhuman, Taskmaster isn't. That's just an unavoidable fact, and it's definitely going to be a factor in this fight. But of course, Taskmaster has plenty of experience fighting against superhumans. He's fought against Captain America, Spider-Man, Venom, Asgardians, even whole Avengers teams. And he always holds his own or even wins the fight because of the incredible power of his own. Because for as good as Deathstroke is, and don't get me wrong, he's one of the best and most skilled fighters that DC Comics has to offer. But there's actually no such thing as being more skilled than Taskmaster, since by very nature of the character, he's going to learn your exact moves, then use them against you. And it's not just as simple as Taskmaster has a massive arsenal of different skill sets that he can draw upon. So like he could whip out Spider-Man's moves at random, then switch it up and throw in Daredevil's moves, although yeah, sometimes he is written that way. But at his best, well, Taskmaster isn't just throwing random movesets at Deathstroke here, but he's instantly analyzing and countering the moves used against him. So very quickly in the fight, Taskmaster is going to be copying Deathstroke's own skill and using that skill against him with the perfect counters, and he'll be able to predict and anticipate Deathstroke's next moves on top of that. Then there's also their gear and weapons. Deathstroke has a great arsenal: guns, knives, swords, explosives, and his lethal bow staff. But Taskmaster loves his toys, and he's always carrying a massive arsenal with him, because he's got guns and knives and explosives, but he also has his sword and his shield, and even his bow and arrow with a loadout very similar to Hawkeye's. So we're talking about sonic arrows, explosive arrows, electric arrows, even PIM particle arrows, all of which Taskmaster can shoot with completely perfect accuracy. Because again, he's copied the abilities of both Hawkeye and Bullseye. Taskmaster has a lot of ways to keep Deathstroke on the defense throughout the fight. But the problem with all of this is that while Taskmaster can definitely beat Deathstroke, Taskmaster also routinely beats himself. Like, for as good as he is, he sometimes seems to relish fighting against a new opponent, studying them and copying their skills. So it's totally possible that he's in no real rush to put Deathstroke down. And that's always a seriously bad idea when you're fighting against someone as dangerous as Deathstroke. It's also totally possible that Taskmaster even starts talking about his power, that he can copy all of Deathstroke's moves, which again is not a good idea when you're fighting against someone like Slade. Taskmaster can definitely get cocky, all while simultaneously kind of being a coward, and Deathstroke being able to take advantage of that is really more common sense than anything else. He's a skilled enough fighter that as soon as his opponent shows a weakness or makes a mistake, well, he's going to capitalize on it and beat them. And I think it's more likely that Taskmaster makes the first mistake here rather than Slade. And finally, well, there's just no ignoring the fact that Deathstroke is a superhuman. For as good as Taskmaster is, even if Taskmaster is copying all of Deathstroke's moves, it's still just true that Deathstroke is going to be able to throw a harder punch. He can throw a faster punch, and he can take a whole lot more punches in return. There's a reason why, even though Taskmaster is able to copy all the skills of Captain America, of Wolverine, of Moon Knight, of Spider-Man, well, he's not consistently beating all these guys. And I don't think he'll be able to consistently beat Deathstroke either. This fight is definitely close, but I ultimately have to give it to Slade. Deathstroke wins. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.